my friends. I'm glad to see you made it. So I guess you still want to go hunting with Dave. Well, today I want to talk about marksmanship and a little bit of necessities and unnecessities, the things you might need for to come onto your Colorado hunt. And you know, one of the things I want to talk about is this right here. And this right here is purely and solely made for peacemaker, right? This is only to kill and shoot another man. And so it's really not cool or good to have for hunting and things like that. Plus, in Colorado, you have a law that any pistol being used must be a 44 caliber or more. So you got to use a real heavy duty gun to be able to, I don't know, give him the last plug because he was a poor shot on the first shot. But anyway, that's what I want to talk about today. You know, that's one of the things. My grandfather owned Castor Sporting Goods, and Paul was one of the greatest marksmen you'd ever want to know, and one of the greatest salesmen you ever wanted to meet. And everybody around town, around Denver, they'd always gather at Castor Sporting Goods there to enjoy telling a good story. And you know, he'd get these guys come in there, you know, and Johnny'd come in and he'd be showing off, yeah, man, let's check out this new Colt that we just got in. And this thing here, it's running $300, right? And Johnny would be like, nah, I don't know, man. I'm not sure if I want to be spending all my money on a brand new Colt, you know. And no, here, let me show you how worthy this Colt is of $300. So he would be like, come here, Jack, and Jack would be coming in, and that was his boy, you know, and that's my Uncle Jack. And Uncle Jack come walking in, and he'd be like, yeah, here, let me show you how worthy this gun is, right? And he'd put a can on top of Uncle Jack's head, and not just any kind of can, but this was fresh Budweiser, you know, and here, and put this on your head right there, right? And he'd just be as quick as could be, pow! Right off the top of his head. And man, then Johnny would be like, dude, here's $400, you know. I'll give you anything I can just to get that gun out of your hand. Right? And then if he wasn't selling pistols, he might have been selling rifles. And when he was selling rifles, you know, it was, if Jimmy didn't want to buy a rifle, he'd be like, here, I'll show you how worthy this rifle is of $300, right? And so he'd be like, Larry, get over here, Larry. And Larry would come on in, and then he'd say, hey. And he'd take the last swig of his Jack Daniels and put a bottle of Jack on top of Larry. And then he'd get a mirror out and use that rifle in his mirror and shoot behind his back and knock that bottle right off his head. And again, guys be like just wailing out all this money trying to get that gun out of his hand, and he'd be like one of the proudest salesmen around, right? And so that's the thing I want to remind you that, you know, have a good weapon, a good gun. Wouldn't recommend anything smaller than a 270, and that goes for ladies as well if you're a woman wanting to go hunting. You know, I remember one of the first times when we went hunting, I took my sister, and she's about 18 years old, and she was shooting a 270, and had a nice little cow elk crowd out there, about 300 yards, and nice shots, you know. She had an uphill shot. She's uphill shooting down, perfect. Everything was going well, just like you want to see. And man, she's huffing and puffing and get a little excited, and pow! Hits that thing right in the jaw. And one thing about it, yeah, you think, wow, that's a great shot. But when you hit them right in the jaw and it blows their jaw off, you know, and then you just got her jaw hanging there and a piece of skin, you know. But it doesn't kill them. It doesn't kill them. And unless you hit a nice shot right through the lungs and the heart, it's going to be tough. These are big animals, and they may take a few shots. I remember my sister, she was so distraught over blowing its jaw out, you know. It was a little dramatic for her. So she was whining and crying. And, you know, I remember that was also the year that we were telling my dad, you know, hey, Dad, and he was Mr. Frugal. This guy, he hated spending money, so he was always real frugal with all his money. So he's like, hey, Dad, let's get some wine. You know, that way after we have our kill, we'll have some cigars and some wine. And then we'll celebrate over our great harvest, right? And so we're sitting back, and of course, you know, Dad comes back with a bottle of Mad Dog 2020. And it's like, Mad Dog 2020, you know, that ain't no wine, that's like hooch, you know. And not just any kind of hooch, you know, you take a shot of Mad Dog 2020 and that stuff's like, you know, eating a fresh vagina full of yeast infection. You know what I mean? Or it's like covering your breakfast burrito in Fermunda cheese. You know, that's how nasty Mad Dog is. And in fact, I remember at the end of the night, man, we were all sitting around the fire, and Pops, you know, he takes the last slug of the Mad Dog, and yeah, I'm going to bed. And this is one of the reasons I don't approve of tents. You know, I think you need a nice camper when you go hunting. And all Pops is like staggering and staggering, and he's about to go over the fire, and hey man, that fire, it'll really burn you. Yeah, and so he staggers back and whoosh, crashes all over the tent, you know, and smashes that down. And once you break those tent posts, it's a real pain in the butt. Man, tent, you know. Next morning, it started raining. It was raining and pouring and raining and thundering, man, and ended up getting everything we had was wet. Our clothes were wet, our bedding was wet, and if you get all your stuff wet, then that makes for a really hard time. And that's what I want you guys to avoid, is having a bad time while you're out on a hunting trip of a lifetime. Now, one of the things I want you to know is when you go elk hunting in Colorado, you gotta be tough and you gotta be a man. So here in town, you know, I'm David. But when I head up to the high country and I hit the hill, all of a sudden I'm Grizz. Right? I remember when I got my name Grizz, and we were there hunting, and we used to own this property. We had a couple acres of land up in Jefferson, Colorado, and we had a great place, and 2 acres surrounded by national forest. So it was awesome, man. You could go anywhere you wanted to go, and there was thousands of acres. So one of the first times I was out guiding a hunt, I had this guy Brian and I had this guy Jesse, and we're out there, and had our base camp there, and we see these 100 herd of elk, and these elk are walking out in the distance. You know, there's 1,000 yards out, you know, a quarter mile out, and so they're way out there, and we see them walking into the woods, but they're going up this way. And of course, I tell the guys, well, hey, you guys want to go get a shot off at one of those elk? Heck yeah, man. All right, so what we did, instead of going right to the elk, right, now let's think about this logically, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to go the opposite way of the elk. We ended up going the opposite way of the elk, heading up, and then we came up this big hump on the hill, and so they were heading this way, but we were going down so we could get up and be like a parallel shot that way across, right? Well, lo and behold, you know, I'm walking up the hill, and this is like a 2-3 mile walk just to get up to the top of the hill, because we had to go backtrack and come around, and so we're getting about halfway up the hill, you know. I was just sitting there, and I was like, from this day forward, you call me Grizz. And my 2 buddies that were sitting there with me, they both looked at me, and they looked at each other and said, okay, Grizz. And everybody was Grizz. Now, can you guys hear a telephone? So all of a sudden, there we are walking halfway up the hill, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm like, from this point on, you guys call me Grizz. And my buddy looked at him, and the other buddy looked at him, and they both looked at me and said, okay, Grizz. Then we just kind of kept on walking up the mountain, you know. Then we got up to the top of the mountain, right? And we get to the spot, and again, we backtracked around. But all of a sudden, lo and behold, see those elk, they walked up, but elk like flat ground. They don't really like heavy-duty steeps and steep inclines. They're going to be on flat, easy walking. They're kind of lazy. And so what the elk actually ended up doing is they kind of went up the hill, and then they came back down the hill and went right under our feet. So right there we were, perfect spot, man. And there's like 100 head of elk, 4 or 5 nice big bulls. And we're sitting there, and my buddy, Jesse, has like buck fever. Right? So you gotta be aware of watching all them elk hunting videos before you go hunting. You're gonna get all kinds of buck fever, man. And he's like foaming at the mouth and an elk! Right? And all the elk in the county just look back and like, later, dude. And bam, they were gone. And that was when I stood up and was like, huh. From this day forward, I am now king of the Fagaris. And Buddy looked at him, Buddy looked at Fagaris. Yeah, king of the tribe of Fagaris. And he was like, Fagaris? What the heck is a Fagari? I stand up right on the top of the mountain and I start looking around and where the heck are we? Where the Fagari? Where the Fagari? Right? And so that's the thing. That's why you want to go hunting with Dave. Because we ain't going on no safari. But we are going to become a Fagari.